Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Prepper Talk Radio. Tonight we are going to be talking, or today, or whenever you're listening, we're going to be talking about 10 essential tools that every prepper needs. Now, before we get into the topic, I want to remind you, if you want to help support the show and stop supporting woke agendas, you need to check out our friends, mylibertybox.com/prepper talk. That'll give you an opportunity to talk to us about some of the things we're doing to change our spending habits, to stop putting money into this stupid woke agenda. It's an all American made stuff. It's fantastic. We love the products that we're getting through there, and it's just changing a little bit of your weekly, monthly shopping habit, and it makes a huge difference in the long haul. So check it out, mylibertybox.com/prepper talk, and also make sure you go over to preppertalkradio.com. Sign up for the newsletter because we've got messages going out every week with different content, special deals. Without further ado, guys, it's tool time. I feel like we need to have Tim the Toolman Taylor here and Al and Heidi, or wait, is it Heidi or Wendy? I don't remember who.
I think it is Heidi. I think you're right. I think
Heidi. I remember they had somebody else first.
Yeah, Us old people who remember those early days of. Yeah.
I grew up in a contractor's house, and so that was one of the top shows we watched, whenever Thursday night, whenever it was on.
Yeah.
But we were just sit there and laugh at Al busting Tim's chops all the time, and my dad's basically Al. He's like, no, the right way to do it is this.
That's
if you want to blow up, you can do it his way, or you can do it my way, which is the right way. But today it's all about the tools. It's all about the tools. And I think we all have different perspective on what 10 essentials should be. Yep. And that's where it's going to get interesting. I had such a hard time, honestly, putting this list together.
Yeah.
Did either of you guys have a challenge with this?
I guess a little bit, because I want to include things that are not actually tools. But I decided, no, we're going to stick directly to what others would consider our actual tools.
Oh, I'm screwed. What is a tool?
Yeah, I might be screwed too, because I cheated and went back when I was a Boy Scout. We had the 10 essentials, so I kind of was like, "Ooh, let me steal that."
We all think differently, so no, that's exactly why we do this together, right? The three of us, we're all unique in different ways. We have different approaches. So
wait, but no, I want to know what your definition is. I'm gonna keep my list the way it is.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and of course, it's just we get into this kind of topic fairly often. I don't want to be too repetitive with it and say, oh, here are the same things we've talked about a million times, right? Which some will be on this list. I mean, that's just undeniable. I personally tried to switch it up a little bit. I'm not terribly creative, so don't get your hopes up. But of course, I'm thinking, for survival, when you've got survival listed on the top there, I was kind of thinking more along the lines of, when I go out to my property, when I'm working at the bug out, what are some essential tools that I use all the time, or that even just in everyday life that I use all the time? And that's mainly the kind of the two I mix there, right? And when I'm at my property, when I'm at the bug out, it's more, kind of more off-grid oriented, more manual tools, although I got a chainsaw on my list too, but so that's what I'm thinking, rather than just, the water filter and the water bottle and just all the usual things, right?
Okay.
Well, there's definitely
Paris, what did you think?
Well, there's definitely a top 10 list that you can, just depending on the scenario, and the kind of the idea is to have a generic 10 survival things. I honestly, I kind of foundationally just kind of cheated with the Boy Scouts of America's old 10 essentials, if I'm honest with you. And then I was like, you know what? There's some other things though that, as I read the list, there's a couple other things here that I would add in, or just kind of, there's there's under a category of what it would be, but definitely depends on the scenario, but there's some generic survival things that every bug out bag, every bug in bag, everybody should have. And then from there, we can think about, okay, well, if this scenario, then here's another essential item, so that's kind of, I went with that essential, just generic survival, top 10 essentials that you should have in a bug out bag or in your kit.
Yeah. So I thought we were talking about a person or persons used or exploited by another. So it's not that. So I can't like list off the 10 people that I think are tools.
Oh,
because I had Biden at the
okay,
top of the
I
list.
see what you're saying.
Then,
you can feel free to do that.
Maybe
however,
we should do a little more prep before we just go and start recording. You know?
No, I'm kidding. No, I wanted to pull up the definition because a tool is a device or implement, especially one held in the hand used to carry out a particular function. An example would be gardening tools. But there's also the third definition says a person used or exploited by another. And I'm like,
that's where you
dude.
came up with it, right?
I was
That's
like, I gotta pull that. I gotta pull that arrow out of the quiver because that's hilarious.
That joke.
Freaking
It's
tool.
that's your a dad joke attempt.
Yep, that's my dad joke of the day. You're welcome, world.
And here's my joke. And Scott, I'll just make sure to bring you along with me.
Oh, hey, what do you call a guy with no shins?
I have no idea.
Tony.
Okay.
Oh, dude,
that's a bad bad dad joke. Definitely. All right, let's get going.
That's a horrible dad joke. Okay, tools. Tools. Whether it's for your bug out bag or to survive the apocalypse and go. And you can't say a recreational vehicle is a tool because that's just too big and broad of a thing. It can't fit in the hand. So
I'll start. One of the
right,
of course, this is probably on everybody's list. It's on the scouting list as well. But I think one of the major tools that everybody ought to have is, and this could be, there's different types of this, but a knife. You got to have, whether it's your EDC, whether it's a fixed blade, whatever it is, you have to have a knife, a good knife that works. And those Swiss Army knives are fantastic because they're multi-tool potential. But at the very least, you've got to have a pocket knife. I'll start with that.
Yeah, absolutely, perfectly. And that was what I was going to lead with as well. This is the pocket knife that I purchased for myself as a teenager. I carried this to high school. I had this with me at school all the time.
That's like the biggest Swiss Army knife ever.
Well, this is called the Swiss Champ. They make bigger ones, but they're impractical and they're just for show. But yeah, I took this to Uruguay. This went with me everywhere until I graduated to the Swiss tool, right? I became a man. And so I put off childish things and got, a real tool.
How is that childish?
I mean, MacGyver freaking carries this around, right? I mean, definitely not childish. It was
true.
A weak attempt at comedy. So,
Tony,
and I'm hogging your spotlight, Paris. You're talking about knives. I'm ready to show many others here as well.
No, I think it's important. Like honestly, just my EDC knife gets used so much in my household. It's crazy. Like I'm constantly being asked, "Hey, where's your knife? Hey, where's your knife? Hey, can I have your knife?" My wife always comes up like, "Hey, can I use your knife real quick?" I mean, there's just so many uses for a knife. You can't get away from, you can't move through life without, at least I haven't been able to. Maybe somebody else out there can, but I've not been able to move through life without feeling like at least a couple times a day, I need to have my knife and I whip it out and cut something.
And I've said a number of times, and you'll probably get tired of me hearing me say this, is you put a knife in your pocket, it'll change your life. If you haven't carried a pocket knife, and you decide to start carrying one, it'll change your life. And I totally agree with that.
So this knife here, I had this of course is the sharp side, but there was something that came in the mail. It was a battery for my dog. It was like I have one of those things where you put the thing on your dog, and if he goes too close, it zaps him. It's invisible fence. Anyway, so the battery died, and the battery has like a little slot, so you can twist it in, and I use the top side or the dull side of my knife because it had a slot that fit, and I just was able to spin it. So a knife you got to be careful not to do that with the sharp side, but on the other side, it can be, I mean, even a knife can be, if you're creative, a multi-tool. And so it kind of acted like a screwdriver for me.
Right. But don't abuse it. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, of course, I would also show my favorite fixed blades. And if I were to pick one, it's got to be fixed blade, the Garberg, more knife Garberg, or the beast of a knife, the SE5. It's a 1/4 inch thick beast of a knife that is probably my go-to knife for what a knife should be used for, right? Chopping wood, splitting wood, With smaller knives, you just don't want to do that. So,
well, that's the cool thing about a
tools.
fixed blade knife is that a fixed blade knife can function as an axe. If you're careful, and you can use it for so many things. In fact, you can use it if you have which is another one of the essentials, I believe, is a flint and steel. And if you have a nice blade and a nice spine on your knife, you're going to be able to use that as a way to kind of light that flint. So there's the ferro rod. I don't know what I was saying, but anyways, there's so many uses for a knife, a good knife, and there should be more than one. Should be in your case, as far as I'm concerned.
Did you say a splint and steel or flint and steel?
Flint. I meant flint. If I said splint, I'm slurring my words because of
had a late night.
I think we're all in a kind of a slap happy, a little bit of a mood, which is fantastic. So I'm right with you guys.
Fast, Scott. I'm gonna interject real fast, Scott. A couple weeks ago, you were absent, and I asked everybody who was listening to say a prayer or two for you. Just give us a quick, real fast. Everything's okay? Let us know. Thumbs up. All right, good.
We've got to do some more doctor visits to kind of get better answers, but nobody's in the ER anymore, so we are very grateful. Thank you, everyone, for your prayers and your thoughts and consideration. And those of you who don't pray, your good vibes, positive thoughts and energy, we appreciate that. Cool. Wife's doing fantastic now. Now we're just surviving. The kids both got sick 2 days ago, and we're like, what? I need to catch a break. Come on.
Seriously.
So
that's life when you have kids, though.
True. I'm grateful that they're alive and sick than not.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
And the other nice thing is when they've got colds, they'll like chill for a while, and they're not running around the house screaming and laughing. You can like sit and watch a show with them, and they're like, "I love you, Daddy," and you're like, "I love you too,
you're
buddy."
sick.
We're snuggling.
Yeah.
Right.
Wait till you're better, then see.
So,
anyways,
this is a knife I'm currently in the process of making. It's a drop point bushcraft knife. It's got a 1/4 inch full tang. This is my camp knife. I take this camping with me. I don't like the way the handle is shaped. It was a kit that I built. But I'm going to go shape it. I've got a friend that does knives professionally, and we're going to go to his shop and finish shaping this next week. Hopefully I'll be able to show that to you in 3 to 4 episodes from now. But I agree, like a pocket knife on you all the time. If you're out in the woods, this is the knife I would recommend, is getting a nice bushcraft knife. If you don't want to spend, $80 to $150 on one or more, get a Mora knife. They are in my opinion, one of the most incredible, handy, most versatile little like entry point knives that you can find. I mean,
I think another really good one that's price for quality, in far as I'm concerned, and maybe if you're listening and you have a really good price for quality knife, Schrade, SCHRADE. I bought a bunch of those, and they seem to be really, really good quality, and they weren't, they didn't kill the pocketbook.
Yeah, of course, the more you spend, the better steel you're going to get. The bigger name, you're going to get more custom knives. So, that's a whole big topic as well, about specifics about knives. But yeah, you can definitely overpay for a knife, and you can go get a $12 Mora knife, and it'll last you for your entire life. So,
I've got my oldest one is probably 18 years old. And it's not retired, but I kind of don't use it as much because I've been focusing on this knife. It's so much bigger. It's got because this is the kind of knife I can baton with, right? And I can chop at small branches with it. Like it's super, super heavy duty. But that's the thing. Like all the tools we're going to talk about today, you've got to think about, is this a tool I'm going to have to replace quickly? Or is this a tool that's a longevity tool? Like it'll last a long time. Focus on getting the longevity version, especially with your essential tools, because those are the tools you're going to use the most.
Quality. Absolutely.
Yep.
All right. What's next? What are we moving on to next? I got one. Should we go next? Something, again, I carry every day. First of all, got your little EDC flashlight or the tactical flashlight, right? So I consider this a tool. The tactical flashlight is not great for the pocket. It's kind of big, but this is a 3,000 lumen light. This is a real weapon, a tool that should go right along with your sidearm. I carry this little one in my pocket every day, and I use it pretty much every day. for work and just early mornings. I'm up early, need to have a flashlight.
A couple of months ago, we had I don't know if it was, a while ago, we had an episode about how women are the best preppers and they always have great, their bag and their purse. And I was like, you know what? I want to have a man purse and a merce, right? So I actually carry 2 flashlights now, one in my pocket and one in my merce. And I think it's essential to have at least 1 flashlight. That's totally, anyways. Yeah, I agree 100%. Got to have a flashlight.
I kind of disagree. I got to disagree. And it's probably to my own demise. Like, okay, essential tool. I have this device that I keep in my pocket all the time that has a light on it. So, and it's also a communication device. It has tons of data in there of things I can use. Right now, if there's an EMP, it's gone, but possibly so is your flashlight, depending on what type of flashlight you've got and how complex it is. But like my phone has a freaking flashlight on it, and I'll be honest, in most scenarios, I don't want to use a flashlight, and here's why. I don't want people to see where I am.
Ruins your night vision.
Right. Like, I don't know. For me, and maybe it's just because my eyes are so dang weak when it comes to like, I am super sensitive to the sun. I'm super sensitive to bright lights. I don't know. I don't think it's an essential tool because the other problem is it's going to run out. It's got a short lifespan. So I didn't put that on my list. You guys could,
that makes sense.
You could throw me under the bus and I'll be fine with it. I'll just aim for the middle and try to miss the tires. But as an essential, I think it's a great thing to have. It's good to put in your bags. It's good to have headlamps. I love headlamps over lights because then you've got your hands free to do other stuff.
Okay, then, well, if you combine that with another item on my list, which is the everyday carry compact pistol, right? If you don't have a weapon light, I really think you should carry a flashlight.
Okay.
I'm not usually out in the dark. I'm usually home by that time. And at home at night, some lights stay on in the house. So it's not pitch black. So I don't have to wake up and try and identify someone who might be in the house. It's usually one of the kids up late at night. Right. So I agree with you.
That light at your kids.
Well, and I agree with you a little bit, Scott, in that I can do without a flashlight in most cases. Absolutely, I can do without a flashlight. For work, I kind of need one. I go into dark places.
Okay, yeah.
But anyway, that's neither here or there. But I think if you're going to carry a handgun, a pistol, then you should be prepared to be able to use that in the dark as well.
So I guess let me clarify a little bit more. If you're going to carry a light, it needs to be a multi-purpose tool, right? It can't just be like, if it connects to your gun, all the better. If it is a defensive weapon, like this flashlight, I took this out of my wife's purse. This is what she carries. It's not just a flashlight.
It's also a stun gun.
Ouch.
Yeah.
And so the whole point of this is I can turn it on at the light, but it's also ouchies, right? It's a deterrent. But I don't know. It's not. It's not on my top 10 list.
All right, cool. All right, what's on your next list? What's next on your list, Scott?
Sewing kit.
Sewing kit.
At the very least, a needle and thread. It is something I use like I'm just thinking long-term essentials as a prepper.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone should have a sewing kit. Even if it's a very little one, but I've used it to fix seat covers. I've used it to fix tents. I haven't darned any socks with it. I'll be honest.
Get suture with it.
You could suture with it if you can clean it correctly and make sure it's sterilized, right? Yeah. Okay. I've fixed nets with it. I've fixed so many different things, just having little tiny sewing kit. Now, if we're going to talk like long-term things, a foot pedaled sewing machine.
Right.
I would put that as an essential long-term.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would actually put a sewing kit above that though.
What about a loom?
Dude, you can build if you've got some good tools like the
spinning wheel,
the hammer, right? You can build a loom. But like, yeah, I think it's overlooked. I think it's something you can use to fix things on the go pretty easily. And I just love having mine accessible and usable. I just think it's so overlooked.
Cool. All right, Paris, your turn.
I would say a rope
Okay.
is an essential thing that you need to have. And sometimes it's hard because you got different sizes. And so for me, like a one size kind of fit all kind of a rope would be a paracord.
Yeah.
You get it's small enough that it's portable, yet strong enough that you can go for it. And I don't know if you guys remember, but I don't remember what episode it was, but we had a guy on that invented a flat rope that's fairly small. It's easy, portable, but it's like several times stronger than paracord. And I'll try to find that episode and I'll put it in the show notes. Oh,
There you go.
redback strap. Yep, that right there. That if you can't have one of those, at least get some paracord, because I think that you can use a rope for so many different things. Like it's just important, like towing, pulling, lifting.
If you're Bear Grylls, you can use your paracord to rappel off a cliff, or
right.
Construct a sleeping structure high up in a tree, right, where you're up off the ground.
Yeah.
So,
but you don't have to be Bear Grylls. You can do it either way. Just be prepared.
I'm totally joking. I would not rappel with paracord. when I saw that episode, I'm like, you're showing people something that they should never try. That is just stupid and dangerous.
Yeah, do not try this at home.
Don't try this at home. Don't ever try it. If you got a real rope attached to you, then okay, then use that as a belay. But
it's like a worst case scenario expert only version. Like all I can think of in my head is dumb ways to die.
Yeah, there's other options. There's dumb ways to die. Other better decisions. Anyway, yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Paracord, survivor cord. My roots are in rock climbing, so I've got ropes for days. Done a lot of caving, and so ropes are very important to me. Absolutely. All right, next one. The venerable silky saw. So this is the one I keep in my go bag. It's big enough to get through, if I can show you on the camera here, for probably a 6 or 8 inch log. But then, there's a lot of different sizes. There's the big boy, as you can see here. This is a big boy. And then there's the...
Do you have the katana?
The katana boy.
Oh my gosh.
This thing is just enormous.
That's the katana boy.
This thing? This is
that a silky? That's a silky too, right?
Silky katana boy. Yeah, these are all.
I'm just telling you guys, if you're listening out there and you want to go I don't think you can get better quality than the silky brand, right?
No, they're the best ones.
I have mine is red, but I have the one that I have the middle one too. The one I don't remember what you called it, but
the big boy. Yeah.
Yeah, I have the red. My handle is red, and
okay.
I'm telling you what, I cut something a couple months ago. I was out using it, and that thing was like, it moved through that branch like butter, dude.
They're amazing. They're absolutely amazing.
Wow, I'm already halfway through this thing. I barely started. How did that happen?
So you've probably got the silky professional big boy, and that's what I have too.
Right, yes.
And I love it. It's got 360 millimeter large teeth, and it cuts forward and backwards. That's why silky is so effective, is because it's cutting both ways. It's like a crosscut saw, the 2-person saw, right? It's not just a traditional camp saw only cuts in one direction, and it's just they require more labor, they require more effort, they require more energy to use, and these are just so much more efficient. And their blades, all you have to do is replace a blade if you break it.
Right, and of course, the longer the blade, you're going to want to use that mainly as a pull saw. Otherwise, you just might bend that thing, get it bound up, and bend it. And as I know, Scott, you've lost a few saws that way to Boy Scouts, right?
Yeah, those little dummies. Like, no matter how many times I tell them don't push, they're like, and what I mean is, like, don't put your weight on it, because if you just drag it forward and back, it does all the work for you. You're just like la la la, gone.
And the reason I have a saw in there is because it's so energy efficient, right? Compared to, say, an axe, and I have an axe on my list as well. Definitely a place for an axe or a big chopping knife like the one I showed you. But having a saw is so much easier than trying to use an axe to hack through a log to create firewood. And when you're in a survival situation, you want to save energy. And man, these silky saws, they save a lot of energy.
Yeah.
I had the Silky brand saw on my list. I just,
Cool. I
I
figured you would.
can't think of another way to do a saw. Like they're just so fantastic. And if you've got a good knife, you can split wood, small chunks of wood with that knife. But your saw is what's going to save you for fire, for shelter building. Like you can't shelter build that easy with a hatchet or an axe.
And it's much lighter than an axe as well, right?
Yeah.
Of course, I have my, this is what I have on my list here. A nice forest axe, Swiss steel. And it's just, quite expensive, but man, it cuts like a hot knife through butter. They are wonderful tools, but it's definitely better to use this than a knife, but definitely better use a saw than an axe.
Yep.
Although there are certain chores that are better, obviously, like splitting wood for your fire. And this is not the best splitting axe. This is just a kind of an all-purpose small forest axe. But there are more purpose-built axes and hatchets for specific uses.
Nice. Now, I would also add a sharpening stone, a good quality sharpening stone or sharpening tool that you can use that's large enough to use both for your axe and also for your knife. Because you don't want a dull axe and you definitely don't want a dull blade. That's just going to wreck life.
Yeah, if you have 2 hours to cut down a tree, spend the first hour sharpening your axe.
100%.
All right.
All right, Scott, I think you're next.
Well, I just sharpening stone. That's
okay. All right, cool. All right, Paris.
So I was going to say, and I'm sure this is on your list somewhere, guys, because first aid kit. You've got to have a first aid kit and bandages, salves, different things for your first aid, because that's, antibiotics. By the way, that's a plug for Jace Medical. Go to jacemedical.com and get your kit. But you got to have a first aid kit, I think.
Use the promo code Prepper Talk to save $10.
Yes.
Go. If you don't use that, you're not going to save $10. Prepper Talk. Keep going.
So that's what I was going to say. Just having a good, strong, and I'm not talking about one of these rinky-dink first aid kits that you can buy at the local pharmacy. I'm talking about a solid. I mean, it doesn't have to be a surgery kit, but it definitely needs to be a good. And there's several that we recommend, but there's got to be a good first aid kit with some good gear, good equipment in there to get you through whatever you might happen. Broken bones, stab wounds, bullet wounds, cuts, scrapes, abrasions, just a good, strong first aid kit.
I think I messed up then because I didn't put that on my list. I didn't put first aid kit.
And you messed up. It's not on my list either.
Wow.
But we're talking about tools, right?
Well, no, but I did because I was like, okay, tool. It's so big. It's like so many different things in there. But the same thing with a sewing kit. I'm like, you could technically say it's the same as a first aid kit. That it's all these tools, right? So I maybe blew the whole concept with that. But I have a good tourniquet on my list.
Oh, good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that should be in your first aid kit. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah.
So I don't know if I don't know if I qualify myself on this or if I'm disqualifying myself on this, but yeah.
Disqualified. Sorry, Scott. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, shoot. I'll go hang out with Tony. Okay, right. So other things. Like,
what's next?
I thought about, like, okay, should I put a compass in there? And I'm like, no, I'm really good with orienteering without it. And I'm like, and honestly, I'm going to be home or get myself home in the case of disaster. So do I really need it? Only if I'm going to go somewhere else. So I'm like, but same thing with a map. I'm like, do I put maps on my list? I'm like, nah, if I'm thinking essentials, I'm going to go back to some of the basics. Like, okay, in my multi-tool, I should have a screwdriver, both a Phillips and a flathead, right? I should have some of those basic tools. So I'm not going to say I need all those, but I'm like, I would definitely put a hammer. Well, that's okay.
Hammer's hard to replace, definitely. But
hammers,
yeah, you don't want to have one. I've got a hammer right here, right? I mean, look right here. There's my hammer, right?
Okay, but I didn't put an axe on my list. I didn't, right? So I'm looking at, okay, what can I use and have anybody else in the group use without having a whole big risk of hurting themselves? And I'm like, a hammer. so many times I can use a hammer to put stuff together. But yeah, a hatchet would have been better than a hammer.
But more crimes are actually committed with hammers than handguns.
See, it's also a self-defense tool,
Self-defense.
apparently.
Absolutely. But I don't think I'd want an inside the waistband holder for a hammer, right? It might be
Well,
a little hard.
I'm just thinking, like, okay, if you're stuck at home and you had a major storm, an earthquake, and other problems, I'm like, how do you fix your shelter for a sustainable future, right? If it's fixable. If it's not fixable, you got to leave. But like, I'm like, dude, home maintenance, fixing things, also deterring idiots who get too close, right? Yeah, but I just think a hammer's so great. I've got, probably because I've got tons of nails and I grew up in carpentry, like I've got all that stuff lying around anyways. But I'm just like, yeah, I would put a hammer as an essential, just like I would put a shovel as an essential.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I'm not talking your little foldable, collapsible survival shovels. Most of those are garbage. If you're going to go with a foldable shovel, you need to go like military grade, Korean War or World War II. Like those shovels
I have
are fantastic.
A folding Gerber shovel I've had for 20 plus years that I have put through the ringer. It's a fantastic shovel. But I do carry a full-size spade shovel in my truck with me at all times. So yeah, absolutely. A full-size wood-handled or fiberglass handled, really tough. Don't skimp out. Don't get the cheap one. Get the most expensive one there. And you'll have it your entire friggin' life. Absolutely essential tools. If you, I'm going to revoke your man card if you don't have a spade shovel, right?
You have to have at least one. I've probably got 5, but you've got to have at least one. And that's the thing. Is like you need it for digging a latrine. You need it if you need like
gardening.
If someone dies and you got to get rid of them, like you got to dig a hole for that. Like there's so many uses to a shovel. If you want to help build new structures, you're going to need to set permanent foundations. A shovel will help you dig to it, right? There's so many good uses to having a shovel.
And of course, I showed my DeWalt 20-volt drill. Again, I will revoke your man card if I do actually have that privilege. If you don't have a power drill at home, I mean, this is an essential home maintenance device. Of course, I've used it to work on my property, but I use, and I have a smaller version as well, more of an electric screwdriver version, just a 12 volt that I probably use more than this, just around the house fixing stuff. I mean, that's what men do. That's our responsibility, is take care of stuff around the house, hang shelves, hang pictures, all kinds of things. There's a million and one uses for a good quality drill. Again, don't cheap out. I mean, Ryobi's probably fine. If you're just using it for home maintenance, Ryobi's probably fine, right? But all
right, everybody in the comments, throw down what brand you think is best. Are you Milwaukee? Are you Ryobi?
Yeah, and I'm not necessarily a DeWalt guy. There's a lot of great brands out there. There's a lot of great brands, but I stay away from
mine's a Black & Decker.
I stay away from Black & Decker as well.
What's funny is that well, that's one I got. It's lasted me, but you get the kit from, you buy something at IKEA or you buy something on Amazon, and you get the kit and it says, don't use the electrical one.
Right,
Use a hand one. I don't care. I still use the electric drill. I just turn down the torque.
Turn your torque down, yeah.
When you're
if you know how to use it, if you know how to use it, absolutely. There's nothing wrong with using it. It's just generic instructions that people will just strip it out really quick and easy. But yeah, absolutely.
Well, that just goes back to removing the warning labels will solve a lot of the problems we have in the world.
That's true. Do not eat this wrapper. Don't eat the wrapper that's around the food. Eat the food that's inside the wrapper.
Yeah. It's stupid. How many people would be? I mean, these signs are saving lives, though. I mean, heck.
Unfortunately.
Well, that right there is our 10, guys. We're done.
Is that it? I got one more. That's
a list of 10. I'm counting just because I want to know what you guys are.
All right.
But I want to see what else we had, because we all had different ideas. I want to see what else came up.
Okay. Are you ready for my next one? Or you got another one?
That's 11, because I forgot to say that we have a fire starter.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Okay. Is fire some way to start a fire? But I kind of mentioned that earlier with my flint and steel. So
or your splint and steel,
char cloth,
ferro rod.
Now here's the question: what's better, a lighter or a ferro rod or a flint and steel? Like what do you guys?
Whatever's the easiest in the moment, right? If it's a true survival situation and you have a lighter, use that freaking lighter, because it's going to be the easiest way to get it started with a lighter. Instead of saying, you know what, I'm freezing to death here, but I'm going to try and start a fire with my ferro rod and scrounge up some tinder and try and make this. No, just use the lighter.
You still need tinder if you're going to use a lighter, though. That's the point, right? But
whatever. But you mean to catch a spark, it's definitely a lot harder to catch a spark than a flame, right? But
well, the cool thing is with the lighter is, even though I'm a ferro rod guy, like I prefer a ferro rod, just because if I break my lighter, the fuel's all gone. I can still kind of get a spark, but it's not going to have a flame.
Yeah.
And so building a fire off that's going to be worse. But in most cases, it's going to be great to have. And so I recommend for most people to get a good lighter, not just buying a couple Bics and calling it a day, because those are the ones that break easy. The cheapest ones you buy are going to be the cheapest ones and easiest ones to break. But I like ferro rods, and the ones that I've got, man, those things throw a huge spark.
Yeah,
and I can one pass light a fire almost every time. Nice. So it's not like a lot of work goes into getting me to start a fire.
Well, that takes practice too. So if you have a ferro rod, you got to go out and use it.
Learn how to use it. Absolutely. It doesn't take a whole lot of practice. 30 minutes, you should be good to go, unless you bought some cheap garbage knockoff product.
Yeah.
Like I think that's one of the bigger things, going back to what Shane said earlier, is like, if you're going to buy a tool, buy a good quality version of it. Don't buy garbage, because we've all tested garbage. We've all bought something and we're like, oh yeah, this isn't as good as I thought it would be. And we even had companies reach out to us and say, hey, can you test this? And we've all been like, yeah, that's garbage. And they're like, well, can you promote it? And we're like, why would I promote garbage?
Because you'll get paid. We'll pay.
Yeah, we'll pay you $100. I'm like, yeah, my character is worth more than that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, absolutely have a fire starter system.
Absolutely. Now, I have some other, of course, items on my list as well that are actual tools. But one of the last ones, since we're running out of time here, is my truck gun, right? The truck gun.
Finally. I've been waiting for someone to bring up a rifle or gun, firearm. That's on my list too.
This is a 30-30 Marlin 336 30-06 with an optic. So good truck gun, on the shorter side.
Your rear view mirror?
No, it just sits on the back seat. Take it with me, whenever I'm going out to the property, and it's nice, fun lever action. Just durable. It's been, obviously the lever action is extremely durable. It's extremely reliable, and nothing to have to worry about. Kind of like what we're talking about. Get the good quality everything, right? I would have thrown an AR up here because that's probably a little more versatile of a rifle, but pick yourself a nice truck gun and get used to carrying it. I think back to when I think it was Thomas Jefferson wrote a letter to his nephew about I advise the gun, right? He said, take your walks with your rifle. It builds character. Instead of doing sports, walk with your gun. And you should look that speech up, that letter up. It's really inspiring. And so I always have to say, I advise the gun. So
nice.
That's a great point. I'm right there with you. A non-AR was my solution. I was looking at a hunting rifle like my 308, because it's useful in a lot of different applications.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's harder to hunt with a AR. It's the caliber is smaller. It's just
and in Utah it's illegal. You have to have a larger caliber.
But I'm looking at it this way. It's like when in a survival situation, I don't care.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Now, if you're hunting deer, if you're hunting coyotes, an AR is perfect. But you're hunting deer, you need a larger caliber.
Yeah, 100%. Well, awesome. Any final list items that you guys have that we need to cover before we run out of time? Got about 9 minutes.
Oh, I don't know. I've got a socket set which I always keep in my vehicle. I'm always using a good quality socket set. Pry bar, we've talked about that a bunch of times. A nice demo bar will get you out of trouble, get you into places, get you out of places where maybe you need to get in or out. I won't go too far into that, but that's really about all I had on my list.
So I had pry bar, a good solid pry bar, crowbar, whatever you want to call it. Absolutely, I think is an essential tool to have. And that comes from a friend was telling me about their experience. They were in Japan during that earthquake that they had.
Mm-hmm.
And what was interesting is they had, before that earthquake happened, they'd both had the prompting, the husband and the wife, to get a pry bar. And they're like, why do we need a pry bar? So they followed the prompting. So this is for anyone listening, follow the promptings. Always follow the prompting. If you get a tool that doesn't make any sense, but you got a prompting, get the tool. They got a pry bar. And when they brought it home, they're like, where are we going to put this? Because they lived in an apartment. And the feeling was, leave it behind the chair by the door. So people can come in the house, they really won't see it, but it's right there. Well, after the earthquake, they couldn't get out of their house. They couldn't get out of the apartment. It shifted enough that the doors were pinched shut and the windows wouldn't open. But they used the pry bar to get out of the house. And they were able to get to safety and find a community center where they could stay and get food and get resources and connect with their families again. But
That's
that
awesome.
pry bar, that crowbar, was what got their family to a safe place.
Yeah, and your knife just won't substitute for, you know.
I have like a
even
6-foot pole that's like a bar. That's like, it's super. I think I used it back in Fresno, California. There's the hard pan dirt, and boy, you can't dig more than you know. You're down a foot maybe, and all of a sudden it's deadpan. It's so bad. So that was something I used to break that up. But that's something that would be good for a great lever for, you know, debris and getting people out from underneath stuff.
And this one they got was just a standard crowbar.
Yeah, I should get one of those.
You know, I've got
plenty. I don't have one.
You don't have one of those? All right.
I don't. That's weird.
Time to go shopping.
Yeah.
Well,
I have one of those flat ones. I have like the flat ones, but I don't have one of the round one that's more strong. That's a little, actually, that's probably stronger.
More heavy duty.
Absolutely. Well, guys, thanks so much for this. I don't know, kind of exhaustive. We went more than 10 essential tools, but I think we covered the bases with the essential tools that you should have. Now, if you're listening, please take out a pen and paper and write down your 10 essential tools that you need. Get down, and you can use our lists on our website. Get down the things that you need and make sure you have those tools handy, available in a place that you can get to them easily in the case that you need them. There's no point in having all your tools in one place that's easily trappable, so to speak. Like, for example, I hear a lot of people are like, I put all my food storage and I've got this really cool cold cellar in my basement. And that works in the Rockies and a lot of places. You may not have a basement, but they put it all in these concrete rooms that you can't access if you can't get through the door. And if there's an earthquake or another disaster and they can't get into their food source is completely cut off from them. So same thing with your tools. Make sure you've got tools in different places so you can access them depending on the type of disaster you're facing. And more than anything, make sure you're taking care of your loved ones. Make sure you're focusing on your plans. If you have to evacuate, know where you're going. If you have to shelter in place, know what you're doing and where your resources are to be able to stay there indefinitely. And then also make sure you've got the essential medicines that you need, the essential antibiotics. Check out our partners over at jasonmedical.com. I mentioned them earlier in the show. If you use the code PrepperTalk, you're going to save $10 when you check out. We each have our own Jace Case medical kit. It's all the emergency antibiotics we need for us individually, but it is a fantastic resource to have and keep. And also make sure you guys check out our group. Go to preppertalkradio.com to see our website, but go to Emergency Prep and Self-Reliance on Facebook. Join our group. We have conversations about this all the time. We even have, right now, as I speak, there's a little poll in our group on what are the essential prepper tools that you think are most important to have. And we're getting feedback. So join our community, get in with Prepper Talk Radio. Let's help each other get better prepared. I appreciate you guys for being here. And for those of you listening, thank you for listening and becoming ready-minded. Have a wonderful evening.
See you next week, guys.